Welcome to our channel. Today's story is one of silence, heartbreak, and truth, a moment frozen in time on a quiet park bench. What led her here? And what secret is she carrying? Stay with us as we uncover the raw emotion behind. A True Infidelity Story. Amelia. That's the name that echoes through the corridors of my mind, a whisper of identity in a world that feels both familiar and foreign. What I am about to share is a tale I find difficult to confess, yet it has etched deep reflections in my mind about the nature of emotions, the weight of responsibility, and the fragile boundary that separates right from wrong. That morning, as dawn broke, my husband Greg slipped away, embarking on a weekend business trip to the bustling streets of Los Angeles. In a quaint house perched by the California shore, we basked in the golden glow of sunlight streaming through expansive windows, while the rhythmic crash of waves serenaded us throughout the day. Greg thrived in his work, pouring his passion into every project, and I stood by him unwaveringly. Yet, with each of his frequent departures, the house grew increasingly hollow, echoing the absence of his vibrant presence. As the sun began to rise, casting a gentle glow through the windows, I seized the tranquil morning to embark on a journey of transformation, meticulously cleaning the house and breathing new life into every corner of the space. As the first notes of my favorite jazz playlist filled the air, I stepped into the living room, ready to lose myself in the rhythm. The music from the speakers floated gently through the air, weaving a serene tapestry that mingled seamlessly with the crisp ocean breeze. Clad in a crisp white t-shirt and well-worn denim shorts, I embraced the freedom of movement, ready to navigate whatever lay ahead. As I concentrated on dusting the towering bookshelves that housed Greg's cherished decorations, an unsettling sensation crept over me, a palpable awareness that someone was looming just behind me. I spun around, my heart racing, and there he was, Ryan, Greg's son from his previous marriage, casually leaning against the doorframe, a shadow of mystery cloaking him. Ryan emerged from his room, his hair tousled and his eyes heavy with remnants of slumber. "Good morning, Ryan," I said, my smile bright and my voice laced with an effort to sound cheerful. "Morning," he replied, his gaze lingering a heartbeat longer than usual, as if searching for something hidden in the depths of her eyes. As he entered the living room, he sank into the sofa, his gaze unwavering, locked onto me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. I fought to keep my focus on the task at hand, but the weight of his presence loomed over me, a constant distraction that tugged at my concentration. Our conversation drifted into the realm of his internship aspirations and the intriguing projects that consumed his time. As I stretched to adjust the picture frame perched precariously on the top shelf, a sudden realization struck me. I was teetering on the edge of balance atop the small stool, oblivious to the danger lurking beneath me. The stool teetered precariously, and in an instant, I felt my balance slip away. "Amelia!" Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos as he sprinted toward me. He caught me just as I was about to tumble, his arms encircling my waist in the stillness of the room. The unwavering strength of Ryan's grip enveloped me. We remained paralyzed, time stretching around us like a taut string, each heartbeat echoing in the silence. My breath hitched in my chest as our eyes locked, drawing us into a moment more intimate than ever before. The strength of Ryan's embrace enveloped me, yet there was a tender softness, as if he feared to jolt me from a fragile dream. My heart raced as I became acutely aware of our proximity, so near that I could sense the heat of his breath against my skin. A soft laugh escaped my lips, shattering the heavy silence that hung in the air. "It was a stroke of fate that you arrived just in time. I could have tumbled into danger," I remarked with a casual air. Ryan hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire, waiting for the spark that would ignite the moment. His gaze was unwavering, a silent storm brewing behind his eyes, as if words danced on the tip of his tongue, yearning for release yet held captive by an unseen fear. His gaze held a tumultuous blend of confusion, curiosity, and an undercurrent of admiration that hinted at deeper emotions lurking beneath the surface. I broke free from his grasp, my fingers fumbling to smooth out my t-shirt as I fought to reclaim my shattered composure. Ryan remained rooted to the spot, his gaze locked onto mine, unyielding and intense. I faced him, my voice steady as I aimed for a nonchalant tone. "What adventures await you this weekend?" Ryan shrugged, a flicker of a smile dancing on his lips. "Not at all. I think I'll just hunker down at home and unwind." I nodded, my heart racing as I approached the sofa, beckoning him to join me in the intimate space. My heart raced as I fought to regain my composure, the near falls still echoing in my mind. Ryan settled beside me, and in that instant, the distance between us shrank to an almost palpable tension, more intimate than it had ever been. The silence enveloped us, not in awkwardness, but in a serene and comforting embrace. The rhythmic crash of the waves echoed from outside, weaving through the air as golden sunlight poured in through the expansive window, casting a warm glow over everything it touched. I stole a glance at Ryan, and there he was, his calm, steady gaze fixed on me. Yet, beneath that familiar surface, I sensed a shift, something tender, something genuine flickered in his eyes. "I've always cherished mornings like this," I murmured, shattering the stillness, tranquil and leisurely. Ryan nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I feel the same way, particularly when there's someone special to experience it alongside." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and his tone hinted at depths far beyond the ordinary. My heartbeat raced, pounding in my chest like a drum, each thump echoing the urgency of the moment. "Amelia, there are moments when it seems we share a connection that transcends language," he murmured, his gaze unwavering, deep and intense, fixed on mine. The heat surged to my face, a fiery wave of embarrassment washing over me. A swirl of emotions enveloped me as Ryan's gaze pierced through the fog of my thoughts, leaving me disoriented and breathless. In a moment of instinct, my fingers brushed against his arm, a fleeting connection that sent a shiver through the air. That fleeting touch sent a shiver through the air, freezing the moment in time between us. Only the sound of our breaths filled the air, accompanied by an indescribable sensation that hung heavily between us. "Ryan?" I whispered, uncertainty gnawing at me, yet my gaze remained locked in place. Ryan remained silent, yet his hand found mine, enveloping it with a tender grip that spoke volumes of comfort and assurance. In that instant, clarity washed over me. We stood at the precipice of an abyss, teetering on the brink of a connection that transcended mere moments. Just as my thoughts began to swirl, he drew nearer, his presence electrifying the air between us. I came to the startling realization that I was not retreating at all. As the morning sunlight poured in and his warm breath enveloped her, it was as if the entire world beyond had faded into oblivion. Ryan leaned in closer, and an irresistible pull drew me to him, urging me to lean in slowly, caught in the moment. That moment seemed to stretch into eternity as the space between us vanished. His breath whispered against my cheek, warm and tantalizingly near. I shut my eyes, enveloped in a silence so profound it felt as if every sound had vanished into thin air. As his lips met mine, tender yet brimming with unspoken feelings, a thrilling shiver coursed through my entire being. The kiss lingered, each moment stretched into eternity. It was tender, a shared understanding that we were stepping over a threshold, one from which there would be no turning back. My heart raced in my chest, desperate to escape its confines. A sense of foreboding washed over me, a whisper in the shadows that told me this was wrong. A sense of dread washed over me as I realized the gravity of my actions. Yet, in that fleeting instant, my resolve crumbled beneath the intoxicating warmth that Ryan exuded. His hand brushed softly against my cheek, drawing me nearer, a silent fear in his eyes that I might vanish into thin air. The powerful and frantic rhythm of his heart pulsed through the air, a palpable force that drew me in. It mirrored my own perfectly. I reached up to touch his shoulder, my fingers brushing against his solid frame, and I could sense his breath quickening as he whispered my name, sending a shiver down my spine. Amelia stood at the edge of the world, her heart racing as the wind whipped around her. The horizon stretched endlessly, a canvas of possibilities waiting to be explored. With each breath, she felt the weight of her dreams pressing against her, urging her to take that first step into the unknown. The adventure beckoned, and she was ready to answer its call. His voice sent a chill down my spine. As I leaned into him, my head nestled against his chest. His arms enveloped me in a protective embrace, a cocoon that shielded us from the chaos beyond our own little universe. Our breaths intertwined, his warmth wrapping around us like a soft embrace, illuminated by the gentle glow of the room. As my fingers glided softly over his cheek, I could feel the heat radiating from his skin, igniting a spark of connection between us. Ryan's grip around me tightened, a subtle yet powerful embrace that spoke volumes. His eyes, deep and earnest, shimmered with an undeniable sincerity and a longing that wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket. We both felt the weight of the moment. The unmistakable shift that signaled a boundary had been shattered. The walls that once stood between us had crumbled to dust. Ryan tilted his head, capturing my lips once more, this time with an intensity that ignited a fire between us, a kiss that spoke of longing and desire. With each kiss, the walls I had painstakingly erected began to fall away, leaving me vulnerable and exposed. I wove my fingers through his hair, my hands quaking with the intensity of emotions that surged within me, threatening to spill over at any moment. Outside, the waves crashed in a relentless rhythm, a haunting melody that echoed the existence of a world beyond my own. In that fleeting moment, nothing else mattered but the rhythm of his breath, the steady thump of his heartbeat, and an intimacy that enveloped us, as if we had been intertwined for an eternity. I urged myself to cease, yet my heart defiantly refused to obey. The warmth of his breath brushed against my ear, his voice a soft, trembling whisper that sent shivers down my spine. Desperation laced his voice as he turned to her, eyes wide with uncertainty. "I don't know what to do, Amelia." The weight of his words hung in the air, thick with tension and unspoken fears. "You linger in my thoughts, an unshakable presence that haunts my mind." I brushed my fingers against his cheek, and in his eyes, I glimpsed the depth of an unvoiced, all-consuming emotion that had ensnared us both. The sweet temptation pulled us across the delicate boundary, engulfing me in a whirlwind of fear and intensity, as if I had surrendered entirely to the depths of his embrace. In that moment, I teetered on the edge, caught in a swirling fog where reality blurred with the weight of my emotions. The heat radiating from Ryan's body and the rhythmic thump of his heartbeat resonating within me clouded my thoughts even further. Each caress from him was tender yet searing, igniting a slow blaze within me that refused to be quenched. His lips brushed against my temple, then glided down to my cheek, where tiny beads of sweat glistened, a testament to the storm raging inside me. My entire being quaked, not from fear, but from a longing so intense and illicit. His fingers wove through my hair, a tender caress that sought to soothe while drawing me in ever closer. I found myself ensnared in his gaze, those youthful eyes brimming with a deep yearning and an unsettling sincerity that pierced through the air like a blade. Amelia stood at the edge of the world, her heart racing as the wind whipped through her hair. The horizon stretched endlessly before her, a canvas of possibilities waiting to be explored. With each breath, she felt the weight of her dreams pressing against her chest, urging her to take that first step into the unknown. The adventure was calling, and she was ready to answer. His voice trembled on a breath, heavy with longing yet laced with a desperate plea for me to stay, to not turn away. In that fleeting moment, clarity eluded me, and the weight of my choice hung heavy in the air. It was as if I were being swept away by a relentless torrent, powerless to resist the current that pulled me deeper into its embrace. My heart compelled me to reply, oblivious to the impending repercussions. I shut my eyes once more, sensing his warm breath against my neck, the rhythmic thump of his heart echoing in his chest, enveloping me in a surreal haze. Yet deep within the shadows of my mind, a faint voice echoed, You've crossed the line. Despite everything, I found myself unable to resist. Ryan drew me in, his warmth enveloping me like a shield, erasing the world outside and anchoring me in this singular, electric moment. I never thought this could happen, Ryan whispered, his eyes shimmering with a mix of uncertainty and joy, the weight of my acceptance hanging in the air between us. But I can't bear the thought of losing you, or the magic of this moment. His words struck me like arrows, sharp and unyielding, piercing through my very core. I was acutely aware that I should pull away, yet my fingers remained entwined with his, refusing to let go. Our breaths intertwined, rapid yet oddly serene. Outside, the waves crashed relentlessly, their rhythmic song weaving a tapestry that drew us deeper into our own world, further away from the grasp of reality. I leaned my head against his shoulder, a whirlwind of safety and fear swirling within me. Reality slipped away, fading into the shadows as if a curtain were being drawn tight, sealing us off from the world beyond. Uncertainty gripped me as I teetered on the edge of consciousness, caught in a liminal space where the lines between dreaming and waking blurred into an indistinguishable haze. The boundary dissolved, vanishing like a whisper of fog in the morning light. Suddenly, a sound shattered the silence. The front door creaked open, and a voice, one that sent shivers down the spine, reverberated through the dimly lit halls of the house. "Amelia? Am I really home?" I stood still, as though emerging from the depths of a haunting dream, my senses slowly sharpening to the reality around me. Ryan and I were yanked from our tranquil sanctuary, a jarring shock that shattered the illusion of safety we had unknowingly woven around ourselves. My heart seemed to freeze in that instant, as Ryan abruptly released his grip on me, his eyes wide with panic. Yet beneath that fear lay an unspoken depth, a truth neither of us was brave enough to voice. My heart raced violently, each beat threatening to tear me apart from the inside out. The moment Greg stepped into the room, the air felt as if it had been sucked away, his cheerful smile illuminating the space, while I wrestled with the storm brewing within me, unseen and unacknowledged. "Amelia?" His voice wrapped around her like a familiar embrace, warm and casual, echoing the comfort of his return after a long, arduous journey away from home. I inhaled deeply, a desperate attempt to steady my racing heart, my voice trembling yet striving for composure. As I emerged from the living room, I called out, forcing a smile that felt almost too fragile to hold. My hands betrayed me, trembling ever so slightly, a telltale sign of the storm brewing within. Greg approached, enveloping me in a warm embrace, his lips brushing softly against my forehead in a fleeting yet tender kiss. "I missed you," he said, his voice breaking the silence, oblivious to the thick tension that hung in the air, wrapping around them like a shroud. My eyes flicked toward Ryan. He stood just a few feet away in the living room, his hands buried deep in his pockets, a desperate attempt to quell the tremors that threatened to betray his composure. Our eyes locked for a fleeting moment, yet it was sufficient for me to feel the storm brewing within him, a tangled web of guilt intertwined with an insatiable yearning. "Ryan, is that really you? Come over and say hi to your dad," Greg called out, his voice bright with warmth as he caught sight of him. Ryan inhaled deeply, grounding himself before he approached, a strained smile plastered across his face. "Hey, Dad, how did your journey unfold?" Greg's face lit up, his hand resting on Ryan's shoulder, a gesture filled with pride and warmth. The experience unfolded beautifully, each moment flowing seamlessly into the next. "I returned with a handful of treasures just for you two." A lump formed in my throat as Greg uttered the word "Mom." It struck me like a bolt of lightning, a stark reminder that I was ensnared between two realms, one bathed in the serene warmth of Greg's love, and the other ensnared in the tumultuous web of forbidden emotions that Ryan and I had just dared to explore. Greg turned to me, his face alight with joy, as he recounted his meetings and shared the amusing tales from his journey. Yet his words slipped through my ears like whispers on the wind. My mind lingered in that earlier moment, when I had felt an intense connection, truly seen and desired in a way I never imagined I would experience again. Ryan lingered silently behind Greg, his gaze fixated on me, as if 1,000 unspoken words hung in the air between us. Yet, I turned my eyes away from his piercing stare. I had to keep my composure. There was no room for Greg to sense anything out of the ordinary. "I'll make us some coffee," Greg offered with a smile, his footsteps echoing as he moved toward the kitchen. He remained blissfully unaware of the oppressive silence that enveloped the room, thick and suffocating. Once the kitchen door clicked shut, I pivoted to face Ryan. "We have to stop," I whispered, my voice trembling with urgency. Ryan stepped forward, his gaze heavy with anguish. "But I know, this sensation." He swallowed hard, grappling with the weight of unspoken thoughts, as if searching for words to articulate a truth that eluded even his own grasp. "Ryan, this can't continue any longer. This family, a tapestry woven with secrets and unspoken truths." With my hands tightly clenched, I grasped the final remnants of my resolve, determined not to let go. "This family means the world." Ryan stood still, his gaze heavy with an unspoken sorrow that seemed to echo in the silence around him. He gave a solemn nod, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Yet, deep down, we both recognized that the events that had unfolded between us were etched in our memories, impossible to erase. Greg reappeared, 2 steaming cups of coffee in hand, his smile radiating warmth and familiarity. "The two of you wear expressions heavy with gravity." While I was gone, nothing of consequence unfolded, did it? I let out a laugh, airy yet tinged with an unsettling edge. "No, absolutely nothing. Just small talk," I replied, my fingers brushing against the warm ceramic of the coffee cup as I took it from Greg, the steam curling up like whispers of secrets waiting to be shared. Ryan's smile flickered, yet shadows of unease and regret lingered in his eyes, hinting at the turmoil beneath the surface. He pivoted, his back to the room, and strode toward the expansive window that framed the tumultuous sea, as if seeking an escape from the heavy burden of memories that clung to the air like a thick fog. I settled beside Greg, yet the once comforting aura of joy and tranquility lay in ruins, fractured by a fissure I feared might never be repaired. The heat of his hand clasped around mine did little to calm the tempest brewing within me. In the days that followed, an oppressive silence enveloped everything, thick and suffocating. I fought to maintain a facade of normalcy, scrubbing surfaces and stirring pots alongside Greg, probing into his day at work as I had always done. Yet, in every hushed pause that lingered between our exchanges, I could sense the weight of Ryan's gaze upon me. Ryan averted his gaze whenever Greg was near, yet in those fleeting moments we shared in the kitchen, the hallway, or out on the porch, the air crackled with an unspoken tension, each glance heavy with unacknowledged feelings. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, Greg ventured out to enjoy a game with his friends. Meanwhile, I slipped into the backyard, the air thick with anticipation, to tend to the rose bushes that stood like sentinels in the fading light. The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow as it filtered through the leaves, yet my mind remained ensnared by lingering thoughts I couldn't shake off. The faint sound of footsteps echoed behind me, and a shiver ran down my spine as I recognized the unmistakable presence of Ryan. My heart constricted, a heavy weight anchoring me in place, yet I refused to look back. He edged forward, closing the distance until he was just a breath away. I stood at the edge of the precipice, the wind howling around me like a restless spirit. Below, the churning waters crashed against the jagged rocks, their fury echoing the turmoil within my heart. Each breath felt heavy with anticipation, as if the very air was charged with the weight of my choices. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a fiery glow that danced across the surface of the sea, igniting a spark of courage deep within me. I knew this moment would change everything, and as I took a step forward, the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for my next move. "I just need to step outside for a moment, get some fresh air," Ryan murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. tinged with an unsettling awkwardness. I nodded, forcing myself to concentrate on the task at hand, yet my fingers clutched the garden hose with an unsettling tremor. Ryan advanced another step, drawing near enough that the gentle rhythm of his breath mingled with the crisp ocean breeze, creating an intimate moment charged with anticipation. "You're dodging me, aren't you?" His voice, though soft, crackled with an undeniable urgency. Silence enveloped me, a heavy shroud of uncertainty pressing down as I grappled with the weight of my response. A chilling fear gripped me, whispering that the moment I spoke, the fragile threads of my world would come undone. "I understand." All that transpired. Acceptance feels like an insurmountable challenge. Ryan stood frozen, his gaze a storm of anguish, yet I knew I couldn't deny the reality of what had transpired. "You haunt my thoughts, an unshakable presence that lingers in every corner of my mind." I turned to face him, and in his eyes, I glimpsed the tumult of emotions I had desperately tried to suppress. In a whirlwind of emotions, confusion swirled with a deep-seated longing, while guilt clung like a shadow, intertwining their fates in a complex dance. "Ryan, we must push through this," I murmured, striving to maintain a calm steadiness in my voice. His gaze wavered briefly, a flicker of anguish crossing his features before it steadied, filled with an unwavering determination as it locked onto mine. Yet uncertainty grips me, leaving me adrift in a sea of confusion. As the echoes of the past swirl relentlessly in my mind, each fleeting glance and every poignant moment pulls me deeper into the vivid tapestry of memories. I clenched the hose with a ferocity that drained the color from my knuckles, turning them ghostly white. A wave of understanding washed over me. Each dawn and dusk, that moment replayed in my mind with vivid clarity, as if it had just unfolded yesterday. Yet, deep down, I understood that I had to put an end to it. This family was the culmination of all that Greg and I had forged together. I inhaled sharply, a wave of emotion crashing over me as my eyes burned, on the verge of overflowing with tears. "Ryan, if you truly care for this family, for your father, then we must find the strength to release our grip on the past." He remained silent, as if engaged in a fierce struggle deep within his soul. At last, he nodded, turning away, his shoulders trembling ever so slightly, as if he had just experienced the heart-wrenching loss of something invaluable. I stood there, a solitary figure in the dimming light, as he retreated into the house, each step echoing in the hollow space of my heart, a profound emptiness settling over me like a heavy fog. I understood this was the only path forward, yet the chasm that separated us felt as if it had ripped a fragment of my soul from my very being. I remained motionless in the yard, the late afternoon sun sinking slowly behind the horizon, casting long shadows that danced around me. The waves crashed relentlessly, each surge a haunting echo of time's unwavering patience and eternal presence. Yet within me, chaos raged, a tempest that refused to be tamed. The sensation lingered, a haunting presence that refused to fade away. Each fleeting glance, every vivid memory of Ryan was indelibly carved into the depths of my mind. Yet, deep down, I understood that inaction would lead to my undoing. Remaining trapped in this emotional limbo would unravel everything I held dear. That night, in the stillness of the house, as Greg lay deep in slumber, I found myself perched on the edge of the couch, my gaze fixed on the vast expanse of the window. The endless expanse of the night ocean loomed ahead, its depths shrouded in mystery, while my mind churned with a storm of tangled, restless thoughts. The following morning, I resolved to shatter the stifling tension that had gripped me for far too long. I stepped into the kitchen, and as soon as Ryan caught sight of me, his gaze shot up, filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. Perhaps he sensed that this conversation was destined to unfold. I sat across from him, my hands tightly clasped, fighting the urge to tremble. "Ryan," I began, my voice a whisper yet resolute, "we can't continue down this path." Ryan nodded slowly, his gaze heavy with an unspoken sorrow that lingered in the air. "I understand, but how can we erase the memory of it all?" I stared at him, the pain in my chest intertwining with a fierce determination. Though the past is unchangeable, the path we carve ahead lies within our grasp. You stand on the precipice of your future, and This family depends on me, and I cannot let them down. Ryan bowed his head, the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. A force unlike anything I've ever known surges within me, and though it terrifies me, I will give it my all. As I extended my hand, my fingers brushed against his, a final, unspoken goodbye that lingered in the air between us. My faith in you is unwavering, and I will stand by you in this journey. We sat together in silence, yet this silence was charged with a profound sense of acceptance. I was certain that what we shared was no mere accident. It was a tangled web of emotions that humans often found impossible to master. Yet, the decision to release it only heightened its significance. It stood as a powerful testament to the profound growth and deep respect we had cultivated for one another and for this family. A week later, Ryan found himself staring at an email that could change everything. A prestigious internship offer from a major company in New York, the very opportunity he had always yearned for. As the dinner unfolded, Greg's eyes sparkled with joy when he revealed the news. He enveloped his son in a warm embrace, his voice swelling with pride as he celebrated the remarkable achievement. A smile crept across my face, yet within me churned a tempest of relief and sorrow. As Ryan turned to leave, I lingered at the door, wrapping my arms around him in a tight embrace that seemed to stretch time itself. "Take care of yourself, Ryan," I whispered, my voice barely breaking the silence that hung heavy in the air. He nodded, his gaze a blend of warmth and unwavering resolve. "You as well." Amelia stood at the edge of the world, her heart racing as the wind whipped through her hair. The horizon stretched endlessly before her, a canvas of possibilities waiting to be explored. With each breath, she felt the weight of her dreams pressing against her, urging her to take that first step into the unknown. The adventure was calling, and she was ready to answer. He turned and walked away, each step heavy with the weight of his dreams and the echoes of memories that clung to him like shadows. I stood there, my gaze fixed on his car as it vanished into the winding coastal road, a strange mix of lightness and emptiness washing over me, as if I had just turned the final page of a significant chapter in my life. Our tale unfolded without the typical happy ending, yet there are moments when the bravest choice is to step away, preserving the beauty that once was. I retreated into the inviting embrace of our home, the sound of Greg's voice beckoning me from the living room, a melody of familiarity and solace that wrapped around me like a warm blanket. As I stepped inside, a smile crept across my face, locking eyes with him. Life surged forward, and I resolved to safeguard the tranquility I understood was essential to my very being.